start off this morning with Florida A&M head coach Willie Simmons. Coach Simmons and the Rattlers dropped a hard-fought contest at Jackson State this past weekend and will host Savannah State on Saturday at 6 p.m. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Doing well. Good morning.
Coach, before we get anything football related, just talk about the environment surrounding the game last week and just the excitement of, Florida A&M hosting a rival such as Jackson State.
Well, last weekend was a special moment for the university as well as the athletic program, as we were able to honor the 1978 national championship team. Of course, everyone knows that Florida A&M won the first ever NCAA Division I AA national championship that year under Coach Rudy Hubbard, and we were able to honor those guys. Spent the weekend with them. They were on the sideline, walked out of the tunnel with us. Coach Hubbard and I were able to walk out hand in hand, locked arms, and it was a great humbling experience for us as a football team and me as a head coach. And so again, that was a great atmosphere. It was a hot day, super hot day at 5 o'clock p.m. and the guys fought extremely hard. They competed, never quit. We had some self-inflicted wounds that kind of got us in a precarious position, but defense stepped up when it needed to and gave offense the ball back with a little over a minute left to play, and we were able to march the ball right down the field and get it to the 2-yard line, and poor clock management on my behalf, poor decision making, on a play call that we had an option on, but again, the guys never quit, and we had a chance to win the game. At the end of the day, that's all you can ask for is a chance to win it. And when you don't, now you can look yourself in the mirror and learn from it, and that's what we did. It was a great learning experience for us. It was a non-conference game, so it didn't ultimately hurt us in the grand scheme of things. Of course, wanted to win the game, but luckily it happened for us in a non-conference game as opposed to a conference game. So hopefully that situation never arises again. We'll be better prepared for it. And, but again, I got a resilient bunch, and I'm sure they'll respond in a positive way. And we're excited to begin league play this week against Savannah State. We know they're a team that wasn't able to play last weekend because of the weather. We know they're anxious to get back on the playing field after 2 FBS opponents, and I'm sure Coach Raeburn will have those guys ready to play. And so we have to match their intensity and hopefully defend our home turf.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to register a question, please press the 1-4 on your telephone. You will hear a 3-tone prompt to acknowledge your request. If your question has been answered and you would like to withdraw your registration, please press the 1 followed by the 3. One moment, please, for the first question. Our first question comes from the line of Melvin Beal with Inside Sports. Please proceed.
Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good morning, Melvin.
Coach, if you had to play that scenario out again, what do you think you would have called there with
I would have called the same play. We would have called the exact same play. Had the situation happened like it did, it was a run-pass option. So the quarterback had the option to throw the ball or hand the ball to the running back. And, in the same situation, had he handed the ball off and we got tackled short, then we would have lined up and killed the ball. And it was second down, so we still had time. If he lines everybody up quickly, kill the ball, we probably have 6 or 7 seconds left in the game to line the field goal team up and kick the field goal from really the middle of the field because the running back got tackled basically right in the middle of the field. So it really was, of course, everyone now, the Monday morning quarterbacks, everyone questions the play call itself. That wasn't the problem. The problem wasn't the play call. The problem was what we did after the play call. You can run the ball on first down with 16 seconds left on the clock. There's no coaching rule that says running the football is, you don't run the football in that situation. If it was third down or fourth down, you can't because now you don't have any options to kill the ball or line up and kick a field goal. So we had enough time. No football play, no run play lasts 16 seconds. So we run the ball, takes about 7 seconds off the clock. You line everybody up, spike the ball with 5 or 6, 7 seconds left, and then line up to kick the field goal. So in the same situation, I call the exact same play.
What was your take on the penalties in the game? There were a slew of penalties by both teams there on Saturday night. But what was your take on the number of penalties that were committed there on Saturday night?
Well, Well, my take on it is that it shows right now we have to do a much better job fundamentally. Penalties are a lack of fundamentals. Either we're not moving our feet, we don't have our hands inside, or we're blocking guys where we don't see their numbers. And so, we had a number of different type of penalties. We had an offensive pass interference call. We had blocking the back call by a wide receiver. We had holding calls on offense as well as in the kicking game. I think we might have had one illegal formation. And so, again, just fundamentally, we have to do a much better job as coaches of stressing the importance of the details, of hands inside, running our feet, lining up properly, seeing guys that we block, seeing the front of their numbers as opposed to the side or the back, and things like that. So, it's easy to want to say the refs are flag happy, but after watching it, most of them were justified, we believe, and so as coaches, we have to do a better job of stressing the importance, because when you look at it, everyone talks about the last play of the game, but 15 penalties for 177 yards doesn't really give you a chance to beat anybody who's worth anything. And Jackson State's a good football team, so we have to play a lot cleaner. And if we can do that, we give ourselves a chance. But we don't really give ourselves much of a chance when we have that many self-inflicted wounds.
Finally, Coach, I saw the story where 4 of your players were baptized on Sunday. Can you talk a little bit about your plan to develop the players beyond football players and into really productive citizens?
Well, I mean, the bottom line is that's why I'm in this position. Of course, the common fan says we're here to win football games, but any true enthusiast or any true supporter of Florida A&M wants these young men to be successful far beyond their playing days. And I'm entrusted with over 100 young men who I'm their leader, for all intents and purposes. For most of them, I'm their father figure. And so, I want to see these young men be successful in life. And we have 7 words in our program that we believe in, all that begin with the letter F. And one for each day of the week. And the first day of the week is Sunday. We talk about having faith. And, so those guys took a huge step in that on Sunday. And I thought it came at a fitting time. We lost a tough ball game at home, one that, everyone wanted to win. Spirits are kind of low. But the very next day, we have 4 guys who made the most important decision in their lives. And it really puts things in perspective for us, So we're going to continue to emphasize the importance of that. Our team understands it. We talk about it all the time. We pray as a team. And, again, we believe that for us to reach our ultimate level of success, not only as a team but personally, we have to have that connection in that relationship. And I really commend those guys. I'm really proud of the steps that they've taken in their lives. And hopefully we can have more to follow their footsteps.
Well, I look forward to seeing you Saturday, and good luck, Coach.
Thank you.
There are no further questions at this time.
Coach, before we close out, just talk about the play of your defensive line, because at times they were in Jackson State's backfield pretty consistently throughout the contest on Saturday.
I thought those guys played with a lot of effort, and again, for up front, that's what you got to have. And they're a relentless bunch. We try to rotate a lot of guys to keep them fresh. We have some young guys that played a lot of snaps. Ronaldo Flowers is a walk-on for us, an undersized defensive lineman, and he gave those guys fit. So Coach Ralph Street, our defensive coordinator and defensive line coach, does a really great job of getting those guys to understand the level that they have to play. And we're going to need that. We're going to need consistent pass rush. We're going to need consistent push up front to neutralize the running game. And, I thought those guys did a really good job. First game they held the team to negative yards rushing. Saturday they helped Jackson to 120, which is a really good total defensively. So if we can continue to play like that up front, against the MEAC with, a lot of teams that can run the ball extremely well, Savannah State being one of them, we give ourselves a chance to keep people in third and long situations and give ourselves a chance to win the field position battle.
Well, Coach, thanks again for talking with us this morning, and we will look forward to hearing from you next week.
All right, thank you, guys.
Have a good day. Florida A&M will host Savannah State on Saturday evening. Kickoff is scheduled for 6 p.m., and the contest will be streamed live from Bragg Stadium on ESPN3. We're now joined by fourth-year Bethune-Cookman head coach Terry Sims. The Wildcats fell at Florida Atlantic on Saturday and will head to Indianapolis, Indiana for the ESPNU televised appearance versus Howard in the Circle City Classic at 3 p.m. on Saturday. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good morning, Ryan. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, Coach. Last week in the game against FAU, pretty much it just came down to one quarter, but your team never quit and fought back late as the game progressed. Talk about last week's contest at FAU.
Well, you're right. You know, I'm not a guy who is ever going to be satisfied, and our team's not going to be satisfied with one victory. We didn't play a great first quarter, and when you look at the football game, you watch it on film, you see just that. It was a good football game. It was a clean football game. Not very many penalties, but you know we let them jump out of the gate on us, and it was 21 points before we knew it, and then we turn around and they score one more touchdown before we get out of that quarter, and you can't give up points like that and expect to beat anyone. So, you know, they have a great football team. It was a great college football atmosphere. But I have to definitely commend our guys because they did not quit. They continued to play. They continued to make plays. And we ended up scoring some points on those guys as the game went on and kind of held them a little bit at the end, but it just wasn't enough. So we have to come back and you know, look at some things and correct some things and get ready for Howard this weekend.
And speaking of Howard, everyone remember last year's game, which came down to the wire. But this year, you play him in a neutral environment. And from what you've seen on film, just talk about Howard at this point.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, they're leading the conference in passing right now. Those guys are doing a great job over there. You know, Coach London and his staff, you watch them on film, and they have some playmakers. You know, a few guys that we recognized from last year, and, you know, there are a few new faces. But when you watch those guys, you can tell, one, that they're well coached and they're a disciplined football team. And they're not going to do a whole lot to hurt themselves. And, you know, you look at all the skill positions, and they have guys that can make football plays. They can do things with the ball in their hands. So we just have to make sure that we're disciplined, we stay focused, and that we're doing the things that we're coached to make sure we're in this football game on Saturday.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to register a question, please press the 1-4 on your telephone. Our first question comes from the line of Trevin A. Jones from Howard University Radio. Please proceed.
Coach Simmons, good morning. Coach, how you doing, Coach?
Good morning. How are you?
Well, this time I am coming at you for information, Coach. In the game last weekend, though, Coach, seriously, the defensive secondary seemed to show you got a lot of tackles from your secondary. Howard's defensive secondary, they're pretty good with run coverage as well. Do you see a comparison between the two defensive secondaries? And if you don't mind, talk more about your secondary and how confident you are with those players that you have back there.
Well, you know, with our secondary and you know, judging the game last week, you know, it kind of skewed a little bit. It's tough to look at what our secondary did in tackles last week because FAU they put the ball on the corners a lot. They you know, ran a lot of speed sweeps and you know, they had a lot of stretch plays. So we had a lot of our safeties sometimes come up and support making those tackles. So I'm not really upset. You don't want your secondary making a lot of tackles because that means someone up front, you know, they're not doing their job. But it's actually just the opposite. You know, our guys up front, they would take care of their business. We just had to rely on our guys to come and make tackles. And we have corners and safeties that are very capable of doing that. We don't believe in just having secondary guys that can cover. You know, you have to be able to tackle to play in our defense, and those guys showed on Saturday that they were willing and that they were able to do that.
And if you'll allow me to, Coach, I'll just go back to last year's game just for a second. You had Raeburn back there last year. An exciting game, only 2-point difference between the two teams, which decided victory. This year you have a Kivius. Difference between the two quarterbacks?
Well, they have a different skill set. Number one, Larry was a little bit more of a pocket guy, and Larry kind of diagnosed things a little bit different last year because he was an older guy. Akivas has definitely made a large jump in his game that way. He's doing a lot better job staying in the pocket and delivering the ball to our receivers and our backs. He did a great job of that on Saturday. But Akivas can definitely make plays with his legs also. And Larry did the same thing early on in his career. So, I think, having Akivas this year, being a seasoned guy now, I think he'll definitely give us what we're looking for, out of our quarterback. And we also have, David Israel who's going to play, and he'll be able to give us some snaps. And he's also a dual threat guy. Does a great job delivering the ball, but he can run, and he can extend plays with his legs.
And my last question to you, Coach. This will be the second season you've been exposed to what we call the go-go offense or house play. Talk about what you can expect from a Coach London team and what you can anticipate from the different formations from this offense that you're going to face this weekend.
Well, it's just as I said earlier, they're a well-coached football team, and they're a disciplined football team. Watching them on film, they're not going to beat themselves. They're not going to make a lot of mistakes, and they're going to do the things I believe that their coaches are coaching them to do because you see that they have been fairly successful. I don't really look at guys playing FBS schools and not faring well. I'm not looking at the score. You have to actually look at the product that's on the field. And there's a good product on the field, and Coach London and his staff are putting a great product out there. So I really do look at this football team, and they pose some problems, with the formations, and they have some motions that come off of those formations, and they run a variety of plays out of them. So we just have to make sure we're sticking to our fundamentals, stay focused, and that we're reading our keys and staying true to what we've been taught, during the week.
Always a pleasure talking to you, Coach. I'll see you this weekend in Indianapolis.
All right, boss. Take it easy.
There are no further questions at this time.
Coach, before we move on, just talk about Keyshawn Bird and what type of player is he, as he's one of the top players in the conference in all-purpose yardage.
Well, looking at Keyshawn Bird, he came in last year, and Bird was actually a walk-on. He was a walk-on from Palm Coast High School, about 25 minutes from here. He played receiver for us last year. We just had to find a way to get him on the field. But his primary position is running back. You won't find a hard-working young man. He wants to win. He wants to do whatever he can to help his team win. And he's definitely a team guy. He catches the ball well out of the backfield. As I said earlier, he played receiver last year. But he has great vision. And along with quickness and speed for days. So he's just a pleasure to be around. He's a young man that I look for a lot of great things in the years to come in this program.
Well, Coach, thanks, and good luck this week as you head to Indianapolis to play Howard in the Circle City Classic, and we'll talk with you this time next week.
All right, thank you. Have a good day.
You're welcome, and you too. Bethune-Cookman will travel to Indianapolis, Indiana on Saturday as they'll face Howard University in the annual Circle City Classic. Kickoff is set for 3 p.m. Eastern Time as the contest will be shown live on Watch ESPN and rebroadcast on ESPNU at 10:30 p.m. We're now joined by the first-year Delaware State University head coach Rod Milstead. Delaware State fell on the road last week at Western Michigan and has an open weekend this week. Coach, how you doing? Good morning.
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, Coach. Could you recap last week's game at Western Michigan as he had a chance to make a statement early on on your second drive of the game?
We just didn't play well. I mean, I'm just making no excuses. We just didn't play well. And when you play against an FBS opponent that's well equipped like Western Michigan and the things they do, you can't make any mistakes. We had some situations where we had a good second drive and we were feeling good about ourselves. We held the ball and were able to take the ball down and get it in the field goal range. And unfortunately, we missed the field goal, and things started to change quickly. Special teams wise, we had a couple mental errors and breakdowns, and a team like Western Michigan took advantage of it. So we got some work to do, and this week is when we're going to get it done. We got to take some time out and go back to basics.
And so far you played 3 games, and playing 2 FBS teams and a good FCS team. What have you found out about your team that you didn't expect going into the season?
Well, one thing that I wanted to see, how we compete, and I've said that over and over again. One thing about this team right here, they have no quit in them. They will fight to the end regardless of the score. They're still going 100 miles an hour and doing everything they can to be successful. We have a young group of guys. We got close to 40 new players that's in our organization since I've gotten here in the spring. So we got some work to do. We got some cohesive bonding that we got to get corrected, and some communication things that will get corrected. And we're going to be fine. This week will be good for us to get some of our wounded warriors time to heal and to get us refocused on the task at hand.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to register a question, please press the 1-4 on your telephone.
Coach, last week, Devin Smith had 11 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and a forced fumble from a strong safety position. Talk about what he brings to the team from that position.
Devin has really come into his own. We saw Devin in the spring, and Devin was really, really impressive, which earned him an opportunity to become a starter. Devin has started for us at cornerback. But then with some injuries, we decided that to move Devin over to the safety position. And he played his best football game as a Hornet last weekend. We were very, very surprised and pleasantly surprised. And like I told him yesterday, you have set the bar high now. So every week I'm expecting you to play to that level or better. So he's up for the challenge. So far, 2 guys have really shined on our defense. That's Brian Cavalcante the week before, and then Devin this week has done a phenomenal job. Although the scoreboard didn't say it, stats tell the truth. So, like I said, he's going to help us out a lot. He's going to be a big part of what we do going forward. Our biggest concern right now is going back to basics, getting some guys healthy, and then moving forward that way.
And speaking of going back to basics, in terms of now with you being head coach for the first time, do you strip everything down and start over, or you just work on what you've seen from the first few games and try to perfect from there going forward?
Well, I've never believed in changing my horse in the middle of a race. So we're going to do what we do here at Del State, and we're just going to perfect what we do. It's not going to change. The offense that we run is going to be the offense that we run. Defense, same way. Special teams, same way. We're just going to correct the mistakes, because if we go into every week making changes, where do we lay our hat? So we got to lay our hat on something. We got to have a foundation to build a house. So therefore, we're going back to basics. We're going to refine our foundation, and we're going to keep building this program so that we can be very, very competitive in our MEAC play going forward.
And before we one name again that stood out, Fidel Romo Martinez, 44.8 yards per punt last week with a 70-yarder. Just once again, just talk about the asset he could be, especially once he gets to a conference, on how he can flip field positions.
Well, he could definitely flip the field, but we are very, very blessed to have him like that. I tell him all the time, this young man takes a lot of time perfecting his craft. Every opportunity he gets, he is working on his punting technique, whether it's videotaping his movements, going out there, getting some extra time with his brother, who is also our kicker, and working with the long snappers to get the timing down. So he works hard at his craft. There's no mystery to us why he's as good as he is, and like I would always share with him, I will be very, very pleased the day that you suit up for a football game and you don't get any work. And he looked at me and I said, because that means we scored every time. So he's good to have. I wouldn't trade him for the world, but I would love to see the day come where he can come out there for a football game and just be out there without having to use his foot, because that means we're doing something very successful on the offensive side.
And lastly, Coach, you've been on the road quite some time now, and you as a professional athlete can attest. How has the team held up in terms of being on the road each and every week so far in the month of September?
Well, for the majority of the team, they're used to it. The new guys who are just coming in, who hasn't really seen this brand of football, meaning traveling to a big stadium and seeing 20,000 people like we saw last week, and the hecklers and all those things. So it was different. It was a great experience for us, because we're not going to see anything quite that large going forward in MEAC play, which is great. So now we got that out of the way. Like I told our guys, unfortunately, we're 0-3, okay? But the preseason is over. The task has always been and will remain to get into conference play and be successful. So we've had our tune-ups. We're going back to basics and get a chance to regroup what we're doing, and then we start our MEAC play down in Norfolk in 2 weeks, and we will be prepared to go put on the show in Norfolk.
Hey, Coach, before we close out, we have one question that came up.
We have a question from Ty Miller with Power News and Sports Radio Network. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach Milstead, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing fantastic.
You kind of alluded to it just now, but I want to talk about the fact that you did play those non-conference games. And how do you feel about getting the break, the bye week, before you get into the meat of the conference schedule? Because it looks like it's something that can really help you going forward, being that you played those quote-unquote preseason games, and now you get a week off to get prepared for the MEAC schedule.
It's a blessing. When I first got hired and I saw the schedule, if I had it my way, we wouldn't have played those FBS opponents so soon. To build a program, you want to build your program on some successes. And those programs that we played, they have built their programs to where they're advanced, a lot farther advanced than we are right now. We know that. That's no mystery. But we had to play them. They were on the schedule. We knew they were coming, and we gave it our best shot. Now we got a week to regroup. We can go back, watch the film, see our mistakes, and then move forward, because our goal has been, since day one, was to be a MEAC champion. And that's where it all starts, and that's what we would like to do. So we're excited that we got a week off. We had a great day of practice yesterday. Today's the guys' days off, and we'll come back Wednesday, Thursday, and practice out the remainder of the week, getting prepared. So we'll actually have 2 weeks to prepare for Norfolk. So we're excited, gets a chance to heal, and then we know we got an 8-game schedule from there going forward.
The speed that you saw from Buffalo and Western Michigan more so, was that evident in practice this week too, in terms of your guys doing the same kind of level?
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. I mean, when you look at it, some people say, man, whoever set the schedule up set you up for failure, but they really didn't. They set us up for an opportunity to see, because a lot of guys on our football team, and I'm quite sure other football teams under the MEAC, they got players who felt that they should be at bigger universities, okay? So they got a chance to see and experience. My guys got a chance to see and experience what it feels like to be a part of a bigger university. They got a chance to go and apply their talents and skill sets with a bigger university, and saw that, hey, we got a lot of work to do. It's not easy. They wear them big uniforms for a reason, so it's not easy. So it gave us an example on where we would like to be. And yesterday we definitely saw in practice our speed change, which I'm proud of. Our speed change, the way we started doing business changed, because that was one facet of the game that I thought that Western Michigan and Buffalo, they were faster than us in the way they attack things. So hopefully going forward it will help our program.
Okay, Coach, good luck in 2 weeks when you take on Norfolk.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach, for speaking with us, and we look forward to speaking with you once again this time next week.
Sounds great. Y'all have a great week.
You too, Coach. Delaware State is open this week as their next game will be on Saturday, September 29th at Norfolk State. We're now joined by second-year Howard University head coach Mike London. The Bison were off this past weekend due to a game postponement and will return to action this Saturday in the Circle City Classic versus Bethune-Cookman at 3 p.m. on ESPNU and Watch ESPN. Coach London, good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Good morning to everybody.
Coach, with the game postponement last weekend, how did your routine change because the postponement happened in the middle of the week?
Well, I mean, obviously, your thoughts and prayers goes out to all those affected, from South Carolina, North Carolina, even all the way up into Richmond. There was a storm casualty related to that, those issues. And, we understood that, Savannah State, traveling from where they were coming, the issue was also getting back safely. So, sometimes you can control things, and a lot of times things are out of your control, and you prepare. And, things that are out of your control, you just have to adjust and adapt as they go on. And that happened, this week. And so we were able to, once the game was canceled, and we were able to have a few practices and just concentrate on getting us better as we prepared for Bethune-Cookman and the Circle City Classic. But, again, there's family members, and a lot of guys on my team and myself, having a brother that lives in New Bern, that are affected tremendously. And, and life goes on and things happen, but you never forget. And so we're hoping that people can, things down there can recover in a way that's, that replaces things. And like I said, football's a game, and when things like that happen, it brings the reality of what's important to you close to home. So here we are, getting ready to play Bethune-Cookman at the Circle City Classic. We're excited about that. It was a great game last year. Coach Simmons does a great job with his football team, and we look forward to the challenge.
Thank you, Coach. We'll open up the call for questions from the media.
Our first question comes from the line of Trevin A. Jones with Howard University Radio. Please proceed.
Good morning, Coach London. How you doing this morning, sir?
I'm doing great, Trevor. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Thank you for asking. Coach, now, with everything that was going on this past week, I know it was kind of a week off, but there were a lot of things going on with the weather. How did you keep the team focused? And did you get in enough? Was the time off a good time for rest and recuperation as you prepared for the Wildcats?
Yeah, you're right. Again, a lot of things go on because a lot of things were impacted by the storm, because we have players who have family members that live down in those areas that were affected. As I said, my brother his family lives in New Bern. And so, your heart goes out, your thought processes are geared towards those in harm's way. And while we were up here in D.C., we were able to get some practices in. We were able to do some things to correct, what we need to correct. Some players were able to, get those nagging injuries healed. And so the focus was just on, the FBS games are over, and, so Savannah State was canceled. And so now we are into conference play. And, it's an honor and privilege to be a participant in the Circle City Classic in Indiana. One of our coaches, Cato June, was a former Indianapolis Colts, and we're playing in Lucas Oil Stadium and honoring Robert Mathis, who's a great linebacker there for Indianapolis. But just to have a chance to be on national TV and play against Bethune-Cookman and brand HBCU football and Howard and Bethune-Cookman and just hopefully play an exceptional game and just have a great experience from that.
And this is the second time facing a Coach Terry Sims team. Last year's game was an exciting game. I asked Coach about the quarterback that he had last year. Now, you have the same quarterback, Kalen, back there again, running the same offense, and it's given him a year to get adjusted. Talk about the maturation and growth you've seen in Kalen, and with this time off, as you prepare for a big game for the first conference game, what can you foresee?
Yeah, you're right. We talked early on about it was going to be important that Kalen's maturation process rise to the level of being able to compete and win games on the football field. He did a tremendous job our first game against Ohio. We left some plays on the field against Kent State. And so, the ability to practice and get better and watch tape and see some of the things and correct the things that you need to work on, we're benefited those things. And so now, we put the game plan together now to play a really good Bethune and really talented and athletic Bethune-Cookman football team. And we're going to have to rely on Kalen again to make the good decisions with the throws, with his feet, with his eyes, and his leadership. So, he's healthy, and we look forward to for the challenge up in Indianapolis.
And my last question, Coach, no details, but as far as health-wise as a team, was the week off a good thing and everybody's recuperated? Are we 100% or no?
Well, no details. That's a good one right there. Trevor, as far as playing a season where your first couple games are physical, I mean, obviously there's always guys that are nicked up and challenging in terms of getting through injuries, and so we have a few guys that are nicked up, and obviously what you hope for is the MVP trainer and the rehab that they get. So we're not at 100%, but we're close to it, and we got today, provided that the weather doesn't affect us today, but also tomorrow, and we're leaving on Thursday to go up there, and and so we'll probably practice here on Thursday before we head out, and just kind of see how guys, how the if they've healed and they've got back to the point where they can be productive in a football game.
Always appreciate you, Coach, and good luck this weekend. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our next question comes from the line of Lute Williams with Black College Sports Page. Please proceed.
Coach London, good morning. How are you today?
Lute, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Not bad at all down here in Greensboro. We're hanging on.
Yeah, man. Think about you guys.
Yeah, it's not too bad here. Didn't get a whole. Just got a bunch of rain. Really, no electricity out, no flooding, or very low flooding. So we're okay. Coach, what do you know about the Circle City Classic? Have you had to bone up to know about it, or is it something you followed over the years?
Well, it's a little bit of both. That's a good word in terms of boning up about it and finding out. I do know that it's Smith Circle City Classic. The Circle City Classic has a lot of things that go on with it. A coronation. There's a praise and worship service. There's a luncheon that's going to, as I said, recognize Robert Mathis and a high school student athlete, an achievement award there. There's a pep rally, Cabernet. There's all kind of things that go on, with it, and we're honored to be a part of such as prestigious as the Circle City Classic, which highlights two HBCU schools that want to perform and do well on national TV. So there's a lot of sponsors there. There's a lot of fans that not only of Howard, of Bethune-Cookman, but of HBCU football. So we're excited about it. Like I said, we'll be up there Thursday, do some community service things, and then get into it on Friday and play the game on Saturday. But it's a privilege to be involved with this.
Just a couple of more things. Given the circumstances, do you think your team would benefited more by the game being canceled, being able to get in more practice time, or do you think it would have been better to play a game at this stage of the season?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. I mean, obviously when you're an FCS team and you're coming off two back-to-back FBS opponents, the games are physical, and you will encounter some challenges in terms of whether it's injury or depth issues, whatever it might be. So for us, there's some guys that are back. There's some guys we'll make a decision on here today. But the ability to correct, I think, I listen in on everyone else talking, and I appreciate the perspectives that the coaches in the MEAC have about their teams, about how they play, and the challenges of an FCS team playing FBS opponents. And so it is calculated, but at the same time, there's a level of experience that you gain through playing teams for us like Ohio and Kent State. Not playing Savannah State, you want to always measure yourself how you've improved from your next game. We weren't able to do that, but we will be able to do that against, as I said, a very good Bethune-Cookman team.
My last question, Coach, is about quarterback for Bethune-Cookman. I think Coach Simmons spoke a little earlier about how he's different from Granville, who was there and the guy you played last year. What have you seen out of him with it?
Well, I tell you what, he's in no threat. Very been on that. Coach Simmons been on that. I mean, this guy's a redshirt junior. He's got height. He's about 6'2", 190 pounds. He's got he's rushed for over about 70 yards. He's got a touchdown. He's thrown the ball. He's got 7 TDs. So you look at him. They do a good job of utilizing his skill set and throwing it to his receiver corps. I mean, you got Mitchell and Thomas. I mean, there's a bunch of guys. Bird. There's a bunch of guys that he's able to distribute the ball to. And then, like a lot of quarterbacks, and hopefully like ours, that if the pressure does come on you, then you have an opportunity to escape with your feet. And so he can do that as well. So he's definitely an asset for them and one of their main weapons. And we're going to have to be cognizant of where he lines up and where he is, and try to take away some things that just try to minimize, big plays, because he's, like I say, he's a big play player.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
There are no further questions at this time.
Thanks again, Coach London, and wish you well as you travel to Indianapolis for this weekend's game.
All right, thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Howard University heads to Indianapolis to face Bethune-Cookman in the annual Circuit City Classic. Kickoff is set for 3 p.m. Eastern Time, as the contest will be shown live on Watch ESPN and rebroadcast on ESPNU at 10:30 p.m. Saturday evening. We're now joined by Norfolk State University head coach Latrell Scott. The Spartans' contest last week was postponed versus Liberty, and they will return to action this weekend as they will head to Orangeburg, South Carolina to face the Bulldogs of South Carolina State live on ESPN3 at 6 p.m. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good, man. How about yourself?
I'm good, Coach. We'll jump right in as with the closures you had last week. How long did it take for you to jump back into football mode, or are you still juggling some logistical items related to last week's hurricane?
No, we're good to go. I felt like we were on punishment for a week, but obviously, us not being able to practice and play pales in comparison to all the things that have happened to the families, down in North Carolina. Kind of puts football in perspective. But we were able to get all of our kids back on campus by Sunday, and kind of get back into a normal track.
And with you having, even though you played a game a few weeks ago, it was only basically a quarter, and obviously we know what happened last week. How have you modified the team's workout to keep them in the game mode?
Well, we try to get some work in and keep the guys in football shape, in the football mode. Obviously, you don't want to put them in a situation where they lose the freshness, if that's a word, that they've been able to gain from not performing. But you also worry about rust. So we're looking forward to getting out there this afternoon and being able to bang around a little bit and be competitive and get ready to play a good South Carolina State football team.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to register a question, please press the 1-4 on your telephone keypad.
Coach, you haven't played South Carolina State since 2016, and obviously we know the personnel has changed, but is there anything you can draw back from that game, which was decided on a late touchdown?
Well, I think the constant is obviously Coach Pough. He's been around forever. One of the best coaches at our league and that HBCU football scene. And even though he's had some staff changes, I think the team still has his blueprint on it. They're tough. They're physical. They're not going to make a ton of mistakes. And they've played 2 BCS games. And probably, both of those teams will be bowl teams. And those guys being 0-2 and not scoring a ton of points, really doesn't mean a thing because it's their home opener. And it's a proud program with a lot of proud tradition, and they'll be ready to go when we get to Orangeburg on Saturday.
And speaking of traveling to Orangeburg, this is your first road game of the year, and just how is it preparing for your road, going on the road after really being in Norfolk for quite some time?
Well, it presents some challenges, with 9-5 being closed. So we've got to find a creative way to get down there. So we may have to take a detour, but our operations people are working on that. But we're not going to let that be a distraction. And you take whatever you're given, and you sort it out, you figure it out, and you move forward.
And then lastly, just talk about now that you have the team back, and pretty much how much do you think they're really the ones who was really affected? Can you still kind of see that as you prepare, that a lot of them may have other things in their mind outside of football naturally?
Well, fortunately, we're a Virginia-based football team, and we really don't have a ton of kids from North Carolina and South Carolina. I'm sure that all of us can be affected by these events one way or another. But fortunately, we didn't have any personal issues or issues that hit close to home. Obviously yesterday we had the hurricanes or the tornadoes over there in Richmond. And, we kind of had to make sure we checked on, our Richmond families. But I think our guys are focused, they're sharp, and they're just ready to play football again more than anything else.
Well, Coach, thanks again, and good luck as you head south to Orangeburg to prepare for South Carolina State this weekend.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Take care.
You too. Norfolk State will head to Orangeburg, South Carolina to take on the Bulldogs of South Carolina State this Saturday at 6 p.m. The game will be streamed live on ESPN3. We're now joined by Savannah State University head coach Erik Raeburn. Similar to Norfolk State, Savannah State's contest was postponed at Howard last week, and Savannah State will return to action this weekend. They will face Florida A&M in Tallahassee. Coach Raeburn, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning.
Coach, similar to what I asked Coach Scott, with the closures that took place last week, how long has it taken for you to jump back into football mode, or are you dealing with some after effects of the hurricane?
Yeah, we were fortunate. The last 2 years we got hit pretty hard with the hurricanes, and this one, kind of missed us and stayed north of us, so we didn't have the anywhere near the devastating weather that they had in South Carolina and North Carolina. So from a weather standpoint, we were pretty fortunate. Obviously, we have a few guys who have family in that area, and it seems that all their family were able to get out and find somewhere safe to stay. And so I think all of our guys and their families are good, and haven't had any serious issues like so many other people have.
Coach, also you had a off week as a result, and after playing a pair of Power 5 opponents, how did you take advantage of the rest that came your way?
Yeah, I guess obviously you want to get back out there and try to get the taste of that those two pretty lopsided losses out of your mouth, but we the other negative of playing those money games is you get a lot of guys hurt, so we were pretty beat up after the Miami game, so we still got some guys that won't be back for a while, but with the week off, I think there's a handful of guys that will be able to play now that wouldn't have been able to play this past Saturday.
Thank you, Coach, and we'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to register a question, please press the 1-4 on your telephone. First question comes from the line of Rory Sharrock from the Tallahassee Democrat. Please proceed.
Good morning, Coach. How are you today?
I'm doing well.
You knew early in the week, last week, about the cancellation due to the hurricane. Once you got word that you weren't going to play, did you already start game planning for FAMU then, or have you started with your normal routine for game planning?
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of film to go off of with with all the new coaching changes that have happened there. They're a lot different offensively and defensively than they have been in the past. So we really didn't have a ton to go off of. But we tried to focus on last week. We tried to focus on improving in the areas that we thought we struggled in the first 2 weeks. And so we tried to take we practice in the morning, so we didn't find out till about Wednesday that we weren't going to play the game. So kind of starting then, we made the focus of our practices late in the week, areas that we felt like we needed to improve on, as opposed to shifting gears to get ready for a different opponent.
Well, I know you said that it is a new coaching staff here. What do you know of Coach Willie Simmons and anything that what you have had to look at from FAMU this season?
Yeah, I know. Obviously, we're familiar with their returning players, and I felt like they have one of the best quarterbacks and group of skill position players in the conference. I know certainly last year from playing against them, I thought they had a great group of receivers. He had lots of weapons. Running back, really talented. So I felt like they had great balance and really good skill position players. And I think a very underrated quarterback. I've always been impressed with him and what the kind of passer he is, and so we know what kind of weapons they have. And then obviously from watching film, we know they've changed defensive schemes considerably different, and so that's been something we've had to do a lot of work on. They obviously they're playing more of a 3-4 now. In the past they were a 4-4. So offensively they are way different than what they were the previous 2 years.
Our next question comes from the line of Melvin Beal with Inside Sports. Please proceed.
Good morning, Coach. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Coach, what kind of atmosphere are you expecting in Bragg Memorial Stadium as you travel to Tallahassee this weekend?
Well, I told our guys they of all the stadiums we played in, it's a huge stadium, and they seem to always fill it. They got a great fan base. Obviously the tradition that they have in their program is, compares to any program around, and so they have a great following, and I assume it'll be a packed house again.
Coach, talk a little bit about what you expect to see from Florida A&M as far as their wide receivers. You talked about their quarterback, but they have a very talented group of wide receivers. Talk a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, we felt like, last year we felt like as a group that was the best group of wide receivers that we had to face, and I think almost all of them are back. They add a freshman number 19, or a redshirt freshman number 19 who has had a great start to the season as well. So I think that's a fantastic position group for them, and they have a ton of weapons, and that makes you really difficult to defend.
Obviously, Chad Hunter is for everybody else, he would be kind of the go-to guy. But they have the luxury of having, some really good receivers around them, so they can spread the ball around, and it makes it difficult for you to really focus your coverage on him. So they have, I think, one of the best groups that we'll face all season.
You mentioned that their defensive scheme has changed this year. Any concerns there? Their linebackers and secondary seem to be improved.
I do. I think the change in scheme defensively, I think it really fits the players that they have. It kind of matches their skill set, maybe better than what their scheme did last year. Although, they played well against us defensively. We kind of struggled on offense, but I feel like the change defensively, when you watch them on film, I think it was a great match for the players that they have.
Finally, in Tallahassee on last Saturday at 5 o'clock, it was pretty hot. Are you guys ready for that particular challenge?
Yeah, I guess I think we are. It's we're not quite as far south as Tallahassee, but it's we practice in the heat and humidity here too. Obviously our last game was in Miami. It wasn't quite as hot as it was last week in Tallahassee, but it was warm. So I think our guys are used to it. But there's not a lot you can do other than try to play a lot of guys, because no matter how hard you work and what kind of shape you get yourself in, when you get in that heat, like you guys had this past Saturday, you just can't play 70 snaps and think that you're gonna have anything left in the tank in the fourth quarter. So I guess our plan has been, just like it's kind of always is early in the season. We just got to play. I told our guys, if you're on the bus traveling to the game, you're going in at some point. So we just got to play a lot of guys and hope that our guys are smart all week in terms of taking care of their bodies and making sure they're hydrated, and then we're just gonna have to roll in everybody we got, and everyone's gonna have to chip in and do their part.
Okay, thanks, Coach, and good luck.
Thank you.
There are no further questions at this time.
Coach, thanks again for speaking with us, and good luck this week as you head to Tallahassee to face off against Florida A&M.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Savannah State University will head to Tallahassee, Florida to face the Rattlers of Florida A&M. Kickoff is set for 6 p.m., and the contest will be shown live on ESPN3. We're joined by South Carolina State University head coach Buddy Pough. The Bulldogs game against North Carolina Central was postponed this past weekend, and they will have a home opener this weekend against Norfolk State at 6 p.m. live on ESPN3. Coach, good morning, and how you doing?
Fine, Ryan. How are you this morning?
I'm good. Obviously, everyone knows what you had to deal with last week. So just talk about when the game was officially postponed. What did you do to get the team to remain in football mode, and how did you kind of make sure everybody was prepared for the hurricane?
Well, that was the main objective at that point, to make sure everybody was safe and, get guys that could go home, and some of those guys that were, from long ways away, so that we would be able to get them back, when we did figure out when we were going to play. We tried to place them in homes with some of the players that were more local that way. So, it was a good bit of an operation trying to put it all together. Football team, you got so many people sometimes, until when you're making these spur-of-the-moment decisions, you always worried about the fact that you overlooking something. But, I think we came out of it okay. We got most of our guys back. came from some of those flooded areas over in the PD section of our state, over around Myrtle Beach, and we had a little bit of an issue getting some of those guys back. But we had our second practice this morning at 6 o'clock, and I think we had everybody there. And we're now about the task of seeing if we can get ready for Norfolk. News at 11.
And let me ask you, with obviously you mentioned some guys coming from areas that flooded. In all reality, how much football is really on their mind, or your job is just to try to coach them, just to focus on the game, but then have them understand that they do have other things to worry about back at home?
You're exactly right, Ryan. You get some issues sometimes that are bigger than football, and you try to make sure that those guys their minds are at ease, because they've got parents at home. We got single mothers at home by themselves, and these guys sometimes are the main persons that they kind of lean on in these kinds of circumstances and situations. So we've got to be somewhat conscientious, I guess, of the fact that that these guys have other responsibilities, and that sometimes may take precedence over what we're doing here, trying to get ready for a football game. So we need to kind of understand our situations that way, and be sensitive to those kinds of possible thoughts.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to register a question, please press the 1-4 on your telephone.
Well, Coach, talk about playing Norfolk State, as you haven't seen them since 2016, but from what you remember and what you've been able to watch on film, because they've been off like you, what stands out?
I think the one thing, Brian, that stands out is the fact that we're in week 4 now, and the two of us have played maybe combined, less than 4 games together. They played a game and a quarter. We played 2 games. They seem to be similar to the way they were last year. They rarely run around and strike you on defense, and Coach Latrell Scott has always done a nice job of preparing this team to come in here and play well. The last time they played here, I think it might have been in 2016, they came down here and beat us up, and we need to try to see if we can remember that. But they've got a nice little young quarterback that runs around and throws and seems to know exactly where to go with the football, probably in pretty much every situation, and they can run it and throw it. So they've got enough of a plan on both sides of the ball and the kicking game that we have our hands full with that Morgan team. I mean, with that Norfolk State team down here this weekend.
Thank you.
All right, Ryan.
We have a question from the line of Lute Williams with Black College Sports Page. Please proceed.
I've been trying to get away so fast, Coach.
I thought I was going. Luke, how are you this morning?
I'm doing fine, man. Hope you and your guys are doing well also. A couple of things.
Well, thanks for asking. I appreciate you. Thank you.
What have you, in the 2 games that you have you found out more about your offense in those games, or in the time that you've had to practice outside of those games?
Lou, I don't know. I can tell you that we need to be a lot better offensive than we've been in the first 2 games. I was giving our offensive staff a hard time a couple of days back. We averaging 3 points a game. We scored 6 against Georgia Southern and got shut out the other game. But you know what? We've seen some signs of life there. I think we probably learned more, in the games that we played than we do in practice. You don't necessarily get quite the same kind of level of competition. The sense of urgency is different, in a game than it is in practice, regardless of what you say. So, we've gotten pretty good feel for what we're about, in the games that we play. We think we got to be a lot better. And, I think the tail of the tape, is in the results.
You know who you're starting at quarterback, Coach?
Yeah. We'll start the Tyrese Nick kid, the freshman kid, redshirt sophomore kid.
And Coach, most folks know that Darius Leonard, in the 2 games he's played for the Indianapolis Colts, has led the coach in tackles both games. And on Sunday he had 18 tackles, 15 solos, a sack, and a forced fumble. Have you talked to him? And are you surprised that he's having this kind of effect so early in his pro career?
You know, I hadn't talked to him. I've got some texts from him and all the people around him. I've got a lot of friends on that staff, some in some capacity, and they are just giddy about what he's done so far. So I get a lot of information on whatever he's doing. I hear he's in high demand up in that area already, and I'm sure he's having a ball. He deserves it. Darius has worked hard, throughout his entire career, and he's been a fantastic player and supporter. So we look forward to, kind of seeing how he does for the rest of his year.
Is he just a prototype guy now in the pro? Used to be play linebacker. You used to have to weigh 250 and 260. Now everybody wants these 230. Maybe even less than 230 guys that can run with the running back. Is that a new phenomenon as you see it? And he seems to fit that very well.
Yeah. I think he would be a defensive back, in some of the larger universities. But the fact that he played linebacker and then we gave him some of the same kinds of responsibilities that, the secondary guys, have, I think really developed his quickness, his ability to be, athletic out there with, with some of the small skill guys, along with the fact that, that he was physical enough to, to deal with some of the inside play, some of the down in the box kind of stuff. So, he's an every down linebacker. He's a guy that can play, with the little guys and with the big guys. I think that's what makes him unique, in the style of game that we have today with all the spread offenses and that kind of stuff. So, I think he's probably the prototypical guy that, that you'll see in the game, coming along today.
I don't know if you saw the quote from this week's game, but they had him timed in the 40 at 4.7, but he said he ran the 40. He ran the 40 with a quad injury. He said, "Watch me play. I don't run 4.7. It was the quad." I don't know if you saw that quote.
No, I didn't, but I knew he was a lot faster than 4.7. Darius is a legitimate 4.4, 4.5 guy, and it's all about his circumstances that way. He runs fast enough to be able to catch up to people, or if he's running away from somebody, to not be caught. So I think that's kind of how it works.
Well, congratulations, Coach. I don't know if you saw my report that I do on the opening day NFL rosters, but your team and your program had more HBCU players, 6 total, on NFL rosters than anybody else. Antonio Hamilton and Raphael Bush and Javon Hargrave and Darius. So congratulations on putting that many guys make a living playing football.
Well, great. We got Scoot Simmons and Justin Evans are hanging around doing practice squad stuff too. So we got some guys out there and a couple guys up in Canada. So we've been fortunate to have some real good players through here, and hopefully we got some more here coming along now. That'll be out there in a few more years.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations, Coach. Good luck on Saturday.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
There are no further questions at this time.
Thank you.
Coach, thanks, and we'll definitely speak with you this time next week, and good luck on Saturday as you return to football action. South Carolina State will face off against Norfolk State in their home opener this Saturday at 6 p.m. The contest will be shown live on ESPN3. Into it, this past weekend, you actually had an open weekend, but everyone knows there were larger issues looming outside of football. Just talk about last week in terms of how did you prepare your team to handle the conditions surrounding the hurricane?
Well, as you stated, the hurricane situation really took all our practice opportunities away. We weren't able to do anything, really. We had several kids, from that area, and we had a lot of parents who, wanting their kids close to their best, in those time crisis. So, we allowed them to go home, and, they closed the university, so we weren't able to practice at all. But our prayers went out, and we communicate with them over the phone for the most part, and we got them all returned back safely.
And similar to what I asked Coach Pough, Coach Raeburn, and other head coaches, we know even though you have them with you, there are some that were affected more than others. And so how do you get them to focus on the task at hand of preparing for Morgan State, even though some of them might have been in some situations last week they won't forget no time soon?
Well, I think football provides that vehicle to focus, and I hope that they can put those harsh times away in their minds and focus at the task at hand. Once they get on that football field and put their helmet on, they understand what their responsibilities are to this university and to the team, and I'm hoping that they fulfill those on Saturday.
And before we go to the questions, Morgan State heads down, and they're coming off their best performance of the year, especially on offense. Just talk about what you've been able to see from Morgan State.
I think that's perhaps the best 0-3 football team in the country. You can actually see the growth from week to week. I think they do a lot of good things. And Coach Jones had those kids playing hard, and I'm sure he's very excited to get in conference play.
Thank you, Coach. We'll open up the call for questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, to register a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. Our first question comes from the line of Jeff Mills with Greensboro News and Record. Please proceed.
Coach, I just have one question for you today, since we talked yesterday. Did all your guys make it back okay from?
Yes.
I know
we
at the time. Go ahead.
We 100% returned, and so that's happy. Everyone returned safely, and looking forward to getting started.
I know you were concerned most for the player from Lumberton. Is everything okay with his family?
Yes, they have quite a bit of water damage, but everyone is safe, and I think that's what's most important. And he was able to leave his family, in a pretty good situation.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from the line of David Squires with The Undefeated. Please proceed.
Yeah, Coach, how you doing?
I'm well, David. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. So tell us a little bit about what makes Matt McCain so effective, and have you ever seen anything like this before with the start that he has to his short career?
Well, I think what he has that most don't is instinct. He just have a candid ability, to see the ball thrown and react in a very positive way, and he's able to transition his feet and his hips, in coordination with his eyes and hands, and a lot of people just cannot do that, and I think that's what he does, best. Beyond others, and he has a desire to be good. So that a lot of people miss that. He would love to be known as the best, and he worked hard to obtain that.
Okay, Coach. So Mac has certainly made a big name for himself pretty quickly. A lot of people say Sam Washington has made a great name for himself pretty quickly also. It just seemed like you just jumped out of the shadow from beneath the shadow of Rob Broadway. Talk about your early success and what's caused that and how you're dealing with that.
Well, I thank God for it, most of all. And my success is based on these young men and their willingness, to be successful, and the time and the hard work that they put in. That's the key to our success. And I like to believe that I've been a part of that success, for a while now. So it was very easy transition for me, honestly, just moving one office over.
So do you have a tendency to kind of look at the defense that you used to command and want to say something or do something, or is that taken care of?
No, well, I'm still on the defensive side of the ball. I don't have that much sense to relinquish it all in one year, in one block. So I still have my hand in the pot, and I stir it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think I was reading where it seemed like you wanted to kind of bring a new guy along for a year or so. Is the plan the next year to totally relinquish that?
You know what? I don't know when that's going to happen, how it's going to happen, but I'm sure that it will, and we'll be prepared for when it does.
What has surprised you about this team this year so far?
Surprise? Very little. They always had that, that will to win and that work ethic. And I think those are the two things that you really need, to be successful. But what I appreciate is the perseverance. They play hard and, for 4 quarters, and they play to the end, and they believe. So I'm very proud and happy to be a part of that.
Thanks, Coach.
There are no further questions at this time.
Coach, I appreciate you taking time out to speak with us, and we'll look forward to speaking with you once again next week. And good luck on Saturday as you prepare to host Morgan State at home.
Thank you very much, Ryan.
You're welcome. North Carolina A&T State is at home this week versus the Bears of Morgan State University. This will be a non-conference contest, and it will kick off at 6 p.m. and will be shown live on ESPN3. We're now joined by North Carolina Central's Granville Eastman. The Eagles contest at South Carolina State was postponed and rescheduled for November 24th in Orangeburg, South Carolina. The Eagles will head to Duke this Saturday for a 3:30 p.m. kickoff in Durham. And for those looking to speak with Coach Sam Washington from North Carolina A&T, he will call in after Coach Jones at Morgan State. Coach Eastman, good morning, and how you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, Coach. Similar to what I've asked the past few head coaches, last week we all know football took a back seat to the hurricane that went through the state of North Carolina and parts of South Carolina. Just talk about what happened from your end on trying to get the team ready to deal with stuff other than football with the postponement of the game last week.
Well, it really was a sobering example of how small, fragile, how life is. That you'd be going one direction and getting ready for a big game, and then you have to face the fact that a dangerous threat is coming that's going to affect people's lives all over the state, and who knows where the ripple effect might be. So I think certainly our administration of South Carolina State, and all the powers that be made the correct call to not play the game and to have our young people, be with their families and have their families advise them on where they wanted them to be in preparation for this for the weather that we saw and faced. And so for us, we really only had about 20 of 90 some odd young men stay on campus The majority of them, went to be with their families or relatives, and that proved to be a comfort, a peace of mind for our families, and it turned out to be a very good thing. Certainly, I was glad that they could feel comfortable knowing that they were able to advise their kids to be out of harm's way. So that sat well with me.
And now that you have some sort of normalcy, we know there's never really normalcy after an event like that. But there's a football game scheduled for Saturday, and you play Duke. Now that you have pretty much most of your team back, how much can you really focus on Duke, knowing that there's a lot of them could be focused on what took place last week if they were affected?
Well, that's a great question. You're right. Some of them have been affected and will be for some time to come. But I think we had to refocus them up. So we had a team meeting this morning, and we want to make sure that we welcome them back. We resumed classes for the first day after that break due to the hurricane weather. So we want to refocus everyone up, let them know about our objectives and what we're here to do, and that's to earn a degree. And so that was a priority, to get in classes, get caught up with schoolwork, stay on course there, and that we would have practice this afternoon. And the focus is Duke, good physical football team that's playing at a very high level, executes very well, and that I'm sure they have their things on their mind as well. But I certainly feel that Duke will bring their best and will not let us down in that area, and it's going to be important for us to match their level of intensity and bring the same type of preparation for the game.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
We have a question from the line of Lute Williams with the Black College Sports Page. Please proceed.
Hi, Coach Eastman. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning. I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Coach, you played Duke. Now, this is maybe your third year at Central playing them?
Third or fourth go around. Yes, sir. That's correct.
What has been, everybody looks for improvement of playing against those teams. And as you know, A&T's got the big win over FBS East Carolina team that then came back and beat North Carolina. What do you think about how do you measure the progress of your team by playing a team like Duke, which, as you said, is playing at a very high level?
Well, for me, it's easy, and you did a good job of referencing, what we've done in the past, which hasn't been much, to be really candid with you. And so, I would be pleased if late into the game, we are playing them with a chance to still, have a chance to win the football game. I think that's where Duke has really separated us, dominated us, and it's been a little disappointing. I'm not going to lie to you. It's truly a great testament to how they prepare and the level they've been playing on. But for me to come out of this game saying that, because I still think that we are gradually getting better, and the goal is to continue to get better, knowing that our best game is going to be our last game. But we have to, be much closer in this ball game than we have been in years past, and that would be a good barometer for me to really take something out of it. And that's the best way I can explain that question.
What has been the difference? Is Duke just recruiting that higher caliber of athletes these days that they've kind of separated themselves maybe certainly from the way Carolina's playing right now? And is that they just have a better quality of athlete than they've had in years past?
Well, I think it's a combination of two or three different things. I think in addition to what you proposed, yes, but I really think the focal point is Coach Cutcliffe, and he really has an operation going on over there. They know that they are looking for a certain type of young man, and the athletic abilities do have to come along with the package to some degree. But I think what they're doing is that at certain positions, they may not necessarily care for how athletic the person is, as opposed to their character and their passion to play the game and to want to excel off the field, because I think there's a carryover to that on the field. And I think it speaks more to Coach Cutcliffe's plan, his organization, and the entire operation, how he has built that thing to and now they're just plugging guys in once they find that individual that's a good fit. That person helps make it go, as opposed to looking for the dominant athlete, more dominant than Central or North Carolina or State or whomever the other opponents may be.
Gotcha. Have you faced the quarterback Jones before? What do you think about his skill set?
I think he's an NFL type caliber player. Now, he's listed as with a broken collarbone, and that might be a week to week deal about his availability. But he's got a quick release, big, tall, strong quarterback. And in the couple games that I've been able to watch him prior to his injury, you could tell he was just getting warmed up. I mean, the ACC is going to have their hands full if they have to see a lot of that kid. He's got a quick release. He's big and strong. He's not hesitating now on where to go with the ball. He gets it out very quick. It's how Coach Cutcliffe really coaches all of them. I don't want to put too much pressure on a young man, but you can tell he's molded in a similar way to a lot of quarterbacks that Coach Cutcliffe has mentored and taught in the past, who have played and excelled at the NFL level.
You're saying that Jones may be out Saturday with a collarbone?
Well, I know he did not play in the Baylor game because he had been listed with a collarbone, broken collarbone. I think one report had it for indefinite period of time. We don't know if we'll play him or not. We're always expecting to. But you asked me about his ability, his talents, and I say they're very high end. He's a very high caliber quarterback.
Good luck on Saturday, Coach.
Thank you.
There are no further questions at this time.
Coach Eastman, thank you for speaking with us this morning, and we look forward to hearing from you this time next week, and good luck as you travel up the road to Duke this week.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye.
North Carolina Central will take on Duke University this Saturday. Kickoff is set for 3:30 p.m. as the contest will be shown live on the ACC Network Extra. And speaking of Coach Jones, we will come to Coach Jones at Oregon State University versus North Carolina A&T as they're coming off a hard-fought contest at Albany. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, Coach. Well, last week, everything came to fruition. The offense had their best game of the year, and it was a knockdown, drag-out fight to the end against Albany. So talk about how that game went down.
Yeah, it was tough, to walk away from that one. We felt like we had a great game plan going into the game, and the offense and the defense tried to execute the game plan. But too many bad things happened that caused you to lose the game. On offense, fumbling the football or throwing an interception or get you beat. And then on defense, we were very aggressive on defense. And, too many penalties. And we also know that, the type of defense we play, one play will get you beat. You can play 69 plays, but play 70 will get you beat. And that caught up with us in that game.
And we'll talk about Dante Small, 3 picks. You don't see that on any level often. So just talk about his game and what type of player is he and who is he? Because that's a name a lot of people have not heard coming into the season.
Yes, sir. He's a good player. I mean, he started every football game for us a year ago as a true freshman. We brought him in here to be the premier corner in our defense. We thought he was going to be a 4-year starter, and he is. And we thought he would come into his own in his sophomore year, which he does. I mean, he's a guy that you better know. We think he'll be one of the better corners in the conference, and he'll be one of the better corners in the nation. He's big. He's physical. He doesn't mind getting his hands on wide receivers, and he don't mind running with them, and he likes to tackle. So he's a really good football player.
And going into this game, it was emotional contest, obviously, as the stats indicate. Just talk about, trying to get that win, and how do you think your team took the loss coming into this week's game against A&T?
Yeah, I mean, we're building a program here, and our team understands that it doesn't happen overnight. and we talk about it 1 week at a time. And we say, let's be better next week than what we were a week ago. And this team knows that they are better going into week 4 than what they were in week 1. They got better from week 1 to week 2, from week 2 to week 3, and we'll be better from week 3 to week 4. But we have to finish, and we have to stop kicking ourselves in the butt with penalties and with turnovers and things like that. We feel like we'll be all right. The thing that we are most pleased with is we have an identity. Our offense understands who they are and what they're trying to do. Our defense understands who they are and what they're trying to do, and they believe in that. So the energy is high. We've had great practice this week. We understand we're going to play the number 1 football team in our mind in the nation at their place. So we're excited about this football game.
Thank you, Coach. We'll open up the call for questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to register a question, please press the 1-4 on your telephone. We have a question from the line of David Squires with the Undefeated. Please proceed.
Hello, Coach. David Squires here.
Hey,
my
David,
first question. Thanks. Doing good. So my first question is about MEAC McCain, the defensive back who has 6 interceptions. I think he's run, 3 back for touchdowns and I think 2 for 100-yard pick sixes. What's your game plan thinking as best you can reveal about MEAC McCain?
Wow. We know he's a good football player. He's one of the best. We think that, we telling our guys to get as many reps as you can against Dante Small. We think we have a talented corner on our end. So our wide receivers are trying to go against Dante Small as much as they can so that they can try to get an idea what it'll be like going against McCain. I mean, he's really, really good. We know he's going to be out there. We're not going to run away from him, but we're not going to try to give it to him and let him win the football game on defense. But we're not going to be afraid to go at him, but we're going to know where he is at all times, and we're going to take our, pick when we want to go after him.
Thanks, Coach.
Our next question comes from the line of Jeff Mills with Greensboro News and Record. Please proceed.
Hey, Coach. You said just a few minutes ago that this team understands its identity on offense and its identity on defense. For those of us who haven't seen you, how would you describe your identity on offense and your identity on defense?
Yeah, well, we're going to run the football on offense. So if a team wants to beat us, all they have to do is stop us from running the football. That's who we are. That's who we want to be. We're not trying to trick anybody, fool anybody. We're not trying to do any of that. We're going to line up and be a physical football team running the football. And then we'll throw the football out there to our wide receivers and try to let them go make plays. And we're going to have a quarterback that can run with the football. That's who we are. So we're not afraid to tell people that, and that's what you see when you watch us on film. On defense, we're going to be aggressive and attack, and we're coming after you. Your quarterback's going to have to know how to get the football out of his hand, not now, but right now, and we're not going to be afraid to lose or get beat. So we're going to be aggressive with our play call. We're going to try to get after the quarterback, and we're going to try to not let teams run the football versus us.
I know running the football, you said, is your identity. A&T's defense is sort of built to stop the run first. What do they do well? What kind of challenges are they for your football team?
Their front seven is the best front seven we've seen. We played 3 football games, and they're as good as anybody we played. They're sound. They're disciplined. They understand that system and their scheme, and they know how to win their one-on-one matchups. But we're not going to run away from it. Our guys are going to have to bow up, strengthen up, courage up, whatever they have to do, and we're going to try to run the football versus that front seven. We're not going to change our game plan because they're very good on defense. We're going to try to do what we do. So it's going to be a physical football game. If they stop us, they stop us, but we're going to run the football.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yep.
There are no further questions at this time.
And, Coach, before we let you go, just talk about your wide receiver. I don't want to mess his name up. Last name Bailey.
Yeah,
and
Menage
just talk
Bailey.
about the game he had last week and the threat he can provide your team on offense.
Yeah, Menage Bailey, he's the fastest guy on our football team, so we know he can take the top off of any defense. He can run and he can catch. He's not afraid to try to jump up over somebody's head. We understand that. We just need to be able to get the football football to him. And we've been working on that with our quarterback as to trying to find ways to get him the football. And again, we concentrate on running the football. So as we take our chances at throwing it, Bailey is a guy that we're going to want to throw the football to. So expect to see him featured a little bit more in our offense when we're ready to throw the football. He'll be a guy that we'll throw it to.
Well, Coach Jones, thanks again, and good luck this weekend as you head down to Greensboro to take on North Carolina A&T.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. Morgan State University will head south to Greensboro, North Carolina to face off against the Aggies of North Carolina A&T State. Kickoff is set for 6 p.m., and the contest will be streamed live via ESPN3.